I was born in Havana, in old Havana. I was born in in the block of Jose Marti House, so it's the national hero. And a few blocks away is it was the the main place where most famous pimp, Cuban pimp, was living as well. So this is an interesting relationship between that we have basically in Havana Vieja between the national hero and the national pimp. In Havana, for me, is like a spring, full of inspiration, full of problems, conflicts that I um, feed myself with those problems, and basically I use them in some way as a material for my art, for my projects. I'm not basically interested in developing some kind of like fine art or traditional painting in some way. I prefer my canvas is more like using the video, and and my canvas is a dirty and canvas, and basically I don't have my pigment. Basically, would be working with people, um, having like a very I would say like close anthropological point of view with reality. And video is the perfect medium for that, because for me video allowed me allows me to really get close to people, to capture the reality in the right now moment, and and after that I can translate that in the representation of my work, and transmit that energy in the same way I was there filming it, in the same way that I was exposure to that and exposed to that, and basically in the same way that everything is in and out. It's almost like you can almost smell. You can almost smell what was happening there.
So, Javier, can you explain to us why you decided to title this installation as Coliseum? It seems to me like an ironic way of titling a piece that is a register of a fish fighting in Havana, a very precarious situation with the um, this little pool in the top of the table in the middle of the street. Everything is so precarious. Why compare? Why title that Coliseum? That was like this. It is like the biggest reference, historical reference on the um, uh, spectacle at the beginning of what was the mass entertainment for people. It looks like disproportional to say the least, no? That to compare like these two little fishes fighting with what was happening in Rome 2,000 years ago.
In my work, I really find important to try to build those connections between what is like completely underground and a way of people survive the everyday life, and and with the history of human and art history, and so it's kind of like elevate this ordinary life to some symbolic and poetic content in some way. And basically, as you said, Coliseum is this idea of the magnificence of the Coliseum as a building, very contrast with the pool, the fish pool, and the situation they are living in Cuba and in this event, specifically this event they are trying to just have fun, find some diversion, and find some profit, and spend some time doing something that it would take them away from their reality for a little bit.
So the title in some way highlights the practicality of the situation.
Yes, plus the violence that is very important in my work, the approach to the violence in different aspects and in different manifestations is very important for me along all my career. So how people are using power, how people are behaving in a violent way, and how communication is affecting, and the lack of communication is affecting the relationship between people. So basically, this work is another way to live through the beta fish and the fighters.
So, can you explain to us how was the process of for making this installation? How many people were involved? Why you decided to do it? When was it recorded? All of those important information that we have to share with we want to share with the viewers.
Coliseum was a project that I started filming, and the first time it was in 2012, 2013, the beginning of the year, like spring, summer, spring mostly, because it's the season when the fishes are ready and they start like fighting with them, and basically I was fascinated by this situation in my blog, and basically it's something that I realized it was happening in different areas, different private patios and rooftops, completely away from the access of the rest of the people. In some cases that was happening in the street, but it was like kind of smaller until at this point grew like really big. And Coliseum is a way, and it's very related with the title as well. The way that I have been like representing this work is thinking like this idea of the theater, and this idea of representing the block, reproducing the block, where the event happened, bringing it to the gallery, and try to make the viewer walk around and feel this sensation of being part of the show, being part of the fight, and actually as well with the projections and the light, you can walk through and you can see how your shadow is affecting the reality of the projection. So you can be as well part of the situation. And this idea of breaking like the fragmentation is important for me because it's the way that we are perceiving information. Normally it's not that organized like cinema and theaters put one single channel, and then the sound and everything is very compressed, compact in one movie. For me, I wanted to put a bump on that idea and basically fragmentate the experience, so you can go through and create your own movie. You will have a different experience, like walking in some way, and then another person will have another completely different experience of the piece. It would be like very chaotic experience, so you have to figure it out because there is like some screens like on and off, constantly changing constantly creating like images, and you have to move, you have to go around, and it's not organized. And this is exactly what I want. So you want to really have a perception of my work in the same way that was happening there. Something can happen, a fish can come to you, somebody can scream behind you, and you are just moving around, getting that chaos that you're experiencing Havana Street.
Give you an image of what is going in Havana that is not what you usually get. What you usually get from their own Cuban government, who is trying to. I don't see the Cuban government exposing the degree of poverty and precarity that you can see in your installation, and they are obviously doing something that is illegal, so something that the Cuban government doesn't allow to happen, to gamble on the streets. And it's also a different perception of La Habana to the one that you find in the opposite side of the Cuban government, in the communities that are in the exile, that are opposed to the Cuban government, and they have this perception that Cuba is a complete homogeneous society, like a country full of people that just obey what the Cuban government tells them to do, and this is a group of people that are creating their own environment, let's say, that is illegal, but they are doing what they want. They're doing this in the middle of the street, no? And there seems to be a lot of people involved in it. It's all the neighbors. You see people on the balconies and on the door entrance of the houses are also getting involved into what is happening in the center stage with the fish fight. So how do you think that this point of view of La Habana is being perceived by other people, by the government, or by people that follow the Cuban government, or people in exile, like this other extreme of the Cuban politics with the Cuban exiles, or even with the left-wing community, international community, which is still supportive of what is going on in Cuba to this day. So how do you feel it is something like this when you confront these people that has a very fixed idea of what Cuba is and what is happening in Cuba? What are you confronting them with? It seems to be something that is not fitting into their imagination, into their imaginary.
With my work, I normally try to criticize the Cuban reality, and basically by showing conflicts that exactly Cuban government have been trying to avoid completely, and not recognize the existence of them, like corruption, marginalization, and alternative economy, the games and gambling, and all of that. So basically, when you see this installation, you will recognize, obviously, that huge contrast between what the government is trying to sell internationally and what the reality is. So there is a straight criticism to Cuban government directly with that. What is happening is that basically for them, or some of them, right now the situation is completely different, but at the moment, if you show this work in Cuba, they, in a context of a gallery, for example, they won't do anything probably, because you are not going straight to with an attack against the government. So I always try to find another way to do it, a more like social way, talking about social problems and not against like the idols of the revolution. It would be completely different perspective from somebody that is coming with communist ideas or out of Cuba, and we try to read this work in that way, and they will maybe see them as delinquents, or in English is another meaning, delinquent, but basically as marginal people, no educated people, and that idea will change basically when they go and experience Cuba, the deep Cuba, in a way, and come back. They will realize that Cuba is not that postcard that Cuban government have been trying to sell constantly. So the equality is just an idea, but never works like that.
Did you think of this piece in terms of relationship between poverty and race? Is that something that was in your mind when you were creating the piece? Because there is in this particular moment that we live in this country, in the U.S., race has come to the foreground, and now maybe a piece like this that was made in 2015, you didn't think so much about that aspect of the work, but now it becomes in this particular context that we live in this very moment, it comes up like something that can be an issue that we should discuss in relation to your piece. What do you think about that?
In this piece specifically, I didn't intend to develop a race analysis. So basically, that doesn't mean that you cannot do it. And of course, if we analyze this community, we analyze the context and the place where this community in Havana is settled. Basically, it's in the port area, so that means that many people, like from different parts provinces of Cuba, emigrate to Havana, old Havana, and they were set up there. And that means that they were working in Havana's port, in the port of Havana, and working as workers. And that means that many other people, the rich part of the society, just move out. And during the revolution time period, they were even bringing more people and putting more people in the buildings to live from other places in Cuba. People were migrating and setting them there, and basically we have like an overpopulation in Havana. Out of like 12 millions of people in Cuba, we have 4 million just in Havana. And of course, we don't have the same level of employment, we don't have the same access. Many of those people like didn't study at all and haven't studied, and of course they don't have a way to afford a normal life, so they have to hustle a completely different and alternative way to live. And those people basically have been like marginalized and lead to what they can find. Of course, that relationship is going to affect the way the life and Havana will be seen. Plus, another thing that was very important is that during the 90s in Cuba, tourists were the most important people in Cuba. So the Cuban government value more a tourist person than a foreigner than a Cuban citizen. And that creates completely different than the rest of Cuba, that created like a very aggressive and a very frustrated reality and experience for people in Havana. And that is related as well with racism, that is related as well with people not being able to access to hotels, not being able to walk normal in the street, not being able, like my case for example, that I was walking with my friends that we studied together, they were white, they are white, and we were walking and some black police just stopped me to ask for my ID. And he didn't ask for their IDs, my friends' IDs. So that means that I was harassing tourists. I was basically a judge or accused for that, let's say, not in a court, but by his opinion. And that is like, you can see the point of view of the official government towards people. This situation is a consequence of all of that. So those people, they don't have basically any other thing to do than just spend a little bit of time trying to get some money, trying to have fun, try to be violent within themselves, and just do something fun. And basically, why they're going to study when you have a doctor that has been studied his whole life and basically doesn't earn anything, and those guys going to earn more by doing dirty business.
One last question is about your involvement with the people that participating in the video, how they see themselves represented in this video. It's important for you to find a way of collaborating with them. So this process of representing them in a video, how they are, do they have a clear idea of how these images are being presented in a completely different context? How do you deal with that part? How about the problem of how to represent or take this representation out of their own place and bring it somewhere else?
The first point for me is that we are neighbors, so we don't have a relationship of just a contract that we can just see each other while we are working. So we have a relationship like it would be permanent relationship before, during, and after the artwork. The video could be done, and basically that changed the reality and changed the dynamic of our relationship. So I always try to include them and explain as well as I can how is the dynamic of the work I want to do, how they can they can gain something from the work. It could be food, it could be something that normally according to the piece, they're going to somehow get something out of it. But it's no money. Normally, it's no money that I'm paying to them, because I don't want to create that relationship with them. I didn't have the money when I was doing those works in Cuba to pay, and when I did it, I didn't want to create the dynamic of that, because it was my economy was very unstable, so I couldn't really afford to pay them and to create that dynamic that's going to stop and change our relationship. So basically, always is going through the dynamic of the neighbor, and they going to see the image they're going to see in the camera just after they being filmed. They're going to see the portraits in the catalogs, in the press of the shows, and I normally invite them to the shows when my pieces are shown in Cuba. But most of them they don't go to the shows because it's far away, because they don't want, because it's weird for them, the art scene. But normally they feel like really big satisfaction when they see the image in the magazines.
Well, you can see in the videos that you were very close to them. You were almost, you can see people eating their nails. Like sometimes the camera is so close that people in the foreground goes out of focus because they are so close to the camera. So I didn't seem to care about the camera being there. It's like there is a complicity. There is the people that are behind the camera seems to be equal to them. And I guess it's because of what you're saying, that there is a relationship of good neighborhoods and friendship that you have been building with these, which are actually your neighbors for many years. So I think in the video tells you a little bit about that relationship between the subjects and the representation. It's being told about the relationship of them with the camera, how close they let you get to them, how long you can stay there, and they don't even look to the camera. So it's telling you something. But what happened in that moment when they go to the gallery or to the museum in La Habana, because that's a place where they can sit. What happened at that moment and they see themselves in these videos? What do they say to you?
Firstly, the way I film them is completely honest. It's completely overexposed. Basically, I never hide the camera. I never try to be sneaky with them and put some hidden device that they don't know what is going on. So even in the middle of a fight, I put the camera, I hand the camera and I run, and the camera is always there. So they see that something's happening, that I'm filming, and this is exactly the kind of shock that I want to create. So at some point they realize, oh, you are filming, because normally I don't ask for permission to do that. So I want to come, and I don't want to alterate the reality. I just come with my camera, they realize, you are filming, what are you doing? Why are you filming me? And are you a cop or whatever, you know? And after that, because they have to protect their identity, because normally they are doing like dirty business or whatever, just gambling or whatever, and they don't want to be overexposed for the police or whatever. And when they realize that, I explain to them, and they just get relaxed and keep going with the action. This is exactly the moment when everything changed, and they just get in the same dynamic.
You explained to them what?
I explained to them
that you are an artist.
That I'm an artist, and I'm doing.
And this is an artwork.
Yes, and I'm doing this because I want to film. I want to create a movie for this. I show the movie to them, and basically this is the moment where the camera and I disappear in front of them, and I can get extra close, and I can put my camera without using the zoom, just in the mouth or in the ear, or and move around, and that is basically one of my main goals when I'm in the process of producing the work. And when they go to the gallery and they see that, there is so many reactions. A positive one was when I show a video, Beyond the Lights I See, that is about golden teeth, and one woman, a woman just took the teeth off after she saw the video. She watched the video because she realized with the narrative that the consequences will be bad. Say like, I don't want that this anymore. She just took it off. So other people just go there and they feel like, oh wow, look, so nice to be in a movie, so nice to be in the television. The TV sometimes they you know, for some promotion of a show, they see themselves in the TV and they say, wow, I'm very happy, you know. Yeah. They don't really realize or are absolutely conscient of consent of the full spectrum of the piece. Neither do I. So there's so many options and possible way to read the piece, and that is beautiful because basically we are learning constantly on that.